saying a realist is someone who observes facts. There are no facts in the marketplace that indicated a housing crash in Denver, Colorado in the next 6 months. Absolutely zero facts.
Well, are there absolutely zero facts to a potential housing market crash in the future? Well, Dave, what about Austin? What about San Antonio? What about the Carolinas? What about Jacksonville, Mississippi, or Birmingham, Alabama? I mean, wake up, Dave. We're starting to figure it out. And when you tell people there is zero data, zero chance, you are doing society a complete injustice. To me, you're no more than a charlatan grifter. And we see them all over YouTube. And just because someone's a household name doesn't mean that they're a good person and that they're truly helping everyone. Now, the credit card thing, all of that's great. But the thing is, guys, in some areas, 20 to 25% of mortgage holders are deeply underwater on their home equity right now. And so I'm going to go into that report. Now, when I say deeply underwater, what that means is their mortgage is 25% over their value. So their mortgage may be $300,000, but their home value is only $250,000. So home values are going down. Now, I want to be upfront about this. You still can't give a blanket statement to the housing market. The housing market right now is extremely divided. But I also want to make a point. The fireworks in the show hasn't really even started yet, because we're not even in recession. Everything we're talking about is in the front end of a recession. And so, in my opinion, if Dave Ramsey wanted to be honest, let's start with the yield curve inversion. How about that? How about that as proof? How about that as historical proof of an incoming recession? Why do they not acknowledge the yield curve inversion? Government deficit spending, government jobs taking over the private sector. Why are they not acknowledging the incoming storm of events that is coming? Why aren't they acknowledging commercial real estate meltdown? Really, the black swan here, guys, is consumer awareness. And so let's become aware, you guys. This is a new report from Adam titled U.S. Homeowner Equity Remains Elevated, but Dips Downward Again in the First Quarter. I'm only going to read a little bit of this. I also want to show you guys some more data as far as PE ratio, CPI, renting, and things like that. But the portion of mortgaged homes that were equity rich in the first quarter of 2024 is down from 46.1% in the fourth quarter of 2023, marking the third straight quarterly decline. So not only are more people underwater, there are less equity-rich homeowners. Now, that could be a result of not only just equity going down, but some of those homeowners that were equity-rich have done cash-out refinances, pulling out the equity and locking themselves into a higher payment and into a higher interest rate. Now, this goes on. At the same time, the report shows that the portion of mortgaged homes that were seriously underwater in the U.S. rose slightly in the first months of 2024 from 2.6 to 2.7% of all residential mortgages. Now, serious underwater mortgages are those with combined estimated balances of loans secured by properties with at least 25% more than those properties' estimated market values. Holy smokes. Now, think about that. I mean, even that surprises me. 25%. I would think 5%. I mean, if you're underwater at all on your house, it's a problem because you can no longer sell and you can no longer refinance and you're trapped. And if you can't afford your payment, what are you going to do? You're going to do a short sale, foreclosure. I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to give your keys back for cash. You're in trouble and your purchasing power is completely shot. So 25% upside down, 2.7% of mortgages. How's that possible? I mean, think about it. How's that possible, you guys? Most areas are not down 25%. That's shocking to me. That's shocking to me. And really what's happening here is we're starting to see that smoke screen and everything being propped up. We're starting to see it crack apart. Yes, it's low right now. It's low right now in the front end of a recession. But what I'm trying to tell you guys is, again, look at all the stuff, all the indicators, but look at the trajectory. Look at the direction, because the direction of the trajectory is going to show us what the consumer is going through. And what the consumer is going through right now is people are dead broke. People are running out of savings, if not already out of savings. And people are now using their credit cards just to live. And that's if they're not having horrible spending habits. Those are just the people that are innocent victims. There's this whole other amount of people that are just spending like lunatics. And all they have to do, and all you have to do is just stop, is make a plan, do a budget, stick to your goals, and get ahead. Just stop spending, start saving. Literally, save $1,000 a month. Pick a number, $500 a month, and start right now. Please, please, you still have time. Please do that right now. And I'm not a financial advisor, but I'm just saying, please. Let's read a little bit more about equity-rich share of mortgages declines quarterly in the majority of the US. The portion of mortgages that were equity-rich decreased in 26 of 50 US states from the fourth quarter of 2023 to the first quarter of 2024. Very interesting. Now, next paragraph. The biggest quarterly declines came in the South regions, led by surprising Kentucky. Very surprising. Now, equity rich decreased from 35.4% in the fourth quarter of 2023 all the way down. That's a huge drop to 28.7%. That's crazy. South Carolina, I understand South Carolina being on here. So South Carolina is down from 42.4%, dropping 2.4% to 40%. So they're losing equity. Rich people are losing equity. That's really astonishing. Third is Georgia. Surprising, guys. Down from 46% to 43.7%. Then Delaware, super surprising actually as well, 39.4%. And then Indiana at 43% to 40.9%. So those are the areas that are losing equity rich homeowners the quickest. At the other end of the scale, equity rich levels rose. So it is divided. The housing market's very divided, like I've been saying, in 23 states from the fourth quarter of 2023 to the first quarter of 2024. The largest improvements were concentrated in the Midwest and West regions, led by South Dakota. That's up from 49.8 to 51.5. And then Hawaii, 55% to 56.5%. Then Montana is up. North Dakota, and number 5, which makes no sense at all to me, is Mississippi. That's up from 37.3 to 38.3 because Birmingham, Mississippi, Birmingham, Mississippi, and they have a massive foreclosure crisis brewing right now as far as defaults. I mean, how's Mississippi? Again, the housing market is just messed up. Now let's read a little bit about serious underwater mortgage levels tick upward in most states. The portion of mortgaged homes considered seriously underwater rose slightly nationwide from 1 in 38 during the fourth quarter of last year to 1 in 37 of the fourth quarter this year. That ratio went up in 37 states. So right now, on average, 1 in 37 mortgaged houses are seriously underwater. So if you're in a shopping center or whatever, think there's 200 people in there. I mean, what, 5 or 6 people are underwater on their mortgage by 25%? That's a lot. To me, that's a lot. And in some areas, you guys, it's not 1 in 36. In some areas, it's 1 out of 5. The biggest increases were clustered in South, which already had some of the nation's highest level of serious underwater mortgages. The highest quarterly increases were in Kentucky again. Sarah mortgage homes that were seriously underwater went from 6.3% in the fourth quarter to 8.3%. You guys, I want you to think about that. In Kentucky, somehow 8.3% of mortgaged homes are down 25% in equity. 8.3%. Jeez. Now, West Virginia is number 2 at 5.4%. Oklahoma is now 6.3%. Arkansas somehow 5.7%, and Delaware at 2.9%. Now, on the flip side, states where percentage of seriously underwater homes decreased most for the fourth quarter of 2023 into the first quarter of 2024 was Missouri. That's insane. Missouri leads the way. It went from 5.6 to 4.5. Still not great, because that still means 4.5% of mortgage holders are upside down 25%. Second, Mississippi going from 8 to 7.1. I mean, seriously, 7.1% seriously underwater. Seriously underwater. That's crazy. Arizona's down from 1.9 to 1.6. Arizona's doing decent. Hawaii down from 1.7 to 1.6. And Tennessee down from 2.9 to 2.8%. Now, listen to this next report. This is the areas that are concentrated that are really super duper suffering. You know, what's crazy to me is I don't know if they're tracking Austin because there's nothing about Texas in here. That's so shocking to me. But anyways, more than 20%, more than 20% of mortgages seriously underwater in just 40 zip codes. So I want to give you the top zip codes right here, you guys. This is crazy. Underwater properties in the first quarter were Gillette, Wyoming at 87%. 87% of mortgaged homes were seriously underwater. How's that possible? How's that possible? Another zip code in Gillette right here, 79%. Now, Mount Vernon, 55, half the homeowners are 25% undervalue. How the heck is that? Columbia, Kentucky, 49.3%. Princeton, 42.2%. I want you guys to really think about how bad that actually is. It being concentrated to 87%. 87% of mortgage holders in that area are upside down 25%. That right there, you guys, those zip codes I just read to you, those are going to be hot spots of foreclosure and or distressed sales. Mark my words on that. You cannot have 87% of homeowners that are upside down 25%. That's going to create a doom loop, and that's in front. Think about this. That is in front of a recession. But regardless, you guys, let's go back to proof, because remember, Dave Ramsey's like, there's zero proof. What about what I just read? What about that, Dave? What about Austin? What about San Antonio? What about Texas? What about all these things, Dave? I just read that. Is that proof, Dave? Will someone give this to Dave? He doesn't listen very well. You know, it just drives me crazy. I want to like the guy. I really do. I want to like the guy, you know, but I love people too much. I'm sorry. And I think that he's hurting people. Regardless, let's go over some data for Dave, starting with home price to median household income ratio. Now, last time we had anything near this PE ratio was during the GFC, sitting at about 6.7, 6.8 times salary. So 6.8 years of salary to pay off a house. So it's like, oh, there's no sign of it. But right now, you guys, it's updated all the way to 7.64. And you're probably like, well, still, that doesn't represent anything. But again, we have a historical president, that the values went down to reset consumers' ability to afford purchasing a house. So that's one thing. I mean, again, we've never, ever in the history of the housing market on a nationwide average, have we ever had this level of overvaluation. The house values right now are saturated. They're maxed out. You can't put any more value in them because you can't afford it. That's insane to me. And he went through the GFC. He's had a bankruptcy. So his lack of acknowledgement here, just this alone, it blows my mind. But here's another set of data. When we look at Case-Shiller, Case-Shiller is kind of just like, you know, a formula used to show us what's going on with the value of houses. And that is demonstrated in red. Now, under that, you guys, is CPI. And we can just say CPI is kind of like the purchasing power of consumers, right? So those kind of go in unity. If you go back all the way to the 1970s, look at how close those lines are together. I mean, they're literally right on top of each other. And then we have this massive bubble formed during the GFC. And then it went down to reset back to more sustainable levels, more fundamentals involved. And then look at what happened during COVID. That gap blew up, and it was already getting really, really bad. Right before we went into lockdowns, we were already kind of seeing, at least I was kind of seeing, the market slowdown. I honestly thought we were going to have a correction, some type of correction slowdown in 2019. But instead of that correction, it went the opposite way and made things much, much worse. And so this gap right here, you guys, overwhelming. There has to be some type of reset, whether it's income, interest rates, or value. Something's going to happen. But not only is it the most overvalued it's ever been in history, homes, it's also never been a better time to rent in comparison. Now, rent has skyrocketed. I'm not saying rent hasn't skyrocketed. I'm just saying in comparison to buying, it's never been a better time to rent. Okay, in that sense. Now, according to this article right here, it's more affordable to rent than own a home in nearly 90% of U.S. counties. Counties, you guys, not even, it would probably be 100% of states. They went down into the counties, and it's probably 100%. I want to know the 10%. that's cheaper. And this is the other thing I'm trying to explain to people. People are running out of money. Okay. We're in an economy that is designed to thrive off of consumer spending. 78% of our GDP is from consumer spending. And so when you see the savings rate abysmal like this at 3.2%, you know that people are going to stop spending and they're going to start saving. Usually that happens after, you guys, after we go into recession. I didn't even pull up the yield curve inversion. I didn't even pull up the government jobs. I didn't even pull up the deficit. I could have done all those things, but I wanted to keep it simple, okay? I wanted to keep it simple, and I want us to focus on what's going on in equity, and I want each and every viewer to always remember just how local real estate is. You hear it all the time. It's about location. It's about hyper-local, but what does that mean? It means subdivision. If you don't know what a subdivision is, just look at the subdivision as the neighborhood. And each one of those is different. I really want you guys to keep your guard up. If you're out there buying right now, understand the toxicity in the housing market. Understand we cannot trust realtors. And if you're going to win, you have to have a general understanding of the market. I made a 2.5 hour, 3 hour home buying class for you for free, just to try to put you ahead of all of these greedy, corrupt, fraudulent investors. You guys, we got to take the housing market back. We can't do that if we're underprepared. We need to treat the transaction like it is the biggest financial transaction of our life. And so treat it like that. Do your research, calm down, make great decisions because you can, you're capable of doing it, and your purchasing is important. What you do next with your money is important to each and every one of us in America. And I say we all stay united. And if we're going to buy real estate, we need to be buying real estate, driving the market prices down, not up. And other than that, guys, I really appreciate you joining me. If you're out there investing in real estate, you guys know I wish you luck and I hope you win.